Welcome to Spotlight On, a new series produced by Accel, where we examine the technology shaping our world through conversations with the people building it.
I'm Ben Fletcher, and I'm really excited to be here today with Shensi Ding, the CEO and co-founder of Merge. So thank you for being with us today, Shensi.
Thank you for having me, and also thanks for investing in us.
I know you had many suitors, and you had a lot of people that wanted to invest, so also we appreciate you choosing us. Well, today in our series, we're going to be talking about AI. And we're really fortunate that we get to work with a lot of the leading AI companies, but also a lot of the companies that are powering and making it possible for this enablement and this new layer of AI. But maybe we kind of start back and go to the beginning, and you can tell us about yourself, tell us about the founding of Merge and the early days.
Well, I actually met Gil, my co-founder, freshman year of college. We both studied computer science, actually here in New York. And we were just all the same classes, group projects, social group, and Gil was pretty much a prodigy software engineer. I believe he actually got a cease and desist when he was 16 from Facebook. He was that guy.
Wow.
But yeah, so
that's incredible.
He was just a really good software engineer, and I was just okay. And also, like when we first got started, we were just like two kids, and everyone was like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Right?
Well, getting started, I always think it's a funny story, but you were the chief of staff at Expanse. You were working very closely with the CEO.
Yeah.
You ran into this problem. You knew Gil. You all were talking, and then you one day just quit your job. Didn't tell Gil about it and just quit and said, we're doing this.
Yeah.
How did that go down, and what was Gil's reaction?
He was kind of like, the fuck? I was like, I'm serious about this. I really think this is a good idea. We'd already been doing I think it was like 6 or 8 months of research.
Yep.
And we knew that this was a problem. We had like the outline of what could be a potential solution. It definitely wasn't perfect or all the way there yet. But I was like, I really think this something is here and it's going to keep getting worse, and we can really solve this because we have these experiences that are not exactly overlapping and are quite complementary. And we're also best friends. This is gonna be really fun. Like, we're gonna have such a good time. And he was like, I really wish you'd like talk to me about this, but then he quit, and he definitely doesn't regret it now.
So what are the pros and cons of working with your best friend? And you all are very close.
We're very close.
And I would say over time, you've gotten to the point now where, you'll focus more on sales and the commercial, and Gil's been doing more on product and engineering. But in the early days, you were writing code. Gil was out selling. He still sells. You're still writing code. So, how has that been working with a best friend and then divvying up the responsibilities?
We were very lucky that in college, we were actually engineering student council, class president, and vice president. So we've actually worked together before.
Why didn't you start the fundraising pitch with that? It may have gone a little bit better. I didn't know that you were royalty.
Yeah. I know, yeah. It was very, very core experiences in our lives. It definitely should have been, top of a resume. Obviously, you can't really compare planning parties to like planning a company, to starting a company. But I had that experience, and I just really trusted him. Some things that I also knew he was really uniquely good at was that he was a great leader, because when we were in San Francisco, I would get to know his team. I would meet the other engineers that he was working with, and they all just loved him. Honestly, he probably took more risk on me than I took on him, because he's just such a great partner to have. And working with your best friend is so fun. Yeah. Some of the things that we've experienced, it's so unique, and no one else can understand. And it's almost like Gil and I had a child, and you can talk endlessly about this child, and no one else gives a fuck. But Gil will always care. Even if I'm just I don't know, Fred is sad about something, what should we do? Gil cares. Even if I'm oh, this button, the color looks a little off, Gil cares. Yeah. And I don't know, it's really fun to have someone that I enjoy talking to, that I feel is really funny, and understands me, and not only cares about my utility to the company, but also me as a person. And it's just made us really, really close. It's such a unique experience to have with your best friend.
What are the things when you set up the company that you wanted to make sure that you had in the culture that you were building, and that we're going to continue and be sustained over the years of the company?
One thing that I think we knew early on was energy. Yeah. So whenever we interviewed someone, if someone was energizing, we would feel more excited to work and talk to them. But it was also really important to see how did someone talk about previous experiences? Were they a nice person? And also I've had this experience, at tech companies and in finance, of being a young woman entering the workplace and not feeling comfortable saying things because I thought people would think I was dumb, or I really didn't want to create that kind of environment. And so it was very important to me to make sure everyone was very supportive, really nice, but also direct. We're still very direct, but just really trying to make sure that we do it in a way that shows that we care about that person too.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love hearing this from new people who join the company, that they really feel the culture, that they feel really comfortable asking questions. They feel comfortable highlighting things that are bad processes. They feel comfortable highlighting bugs, because it's really important for people to be able to say those things. Others, we're just not going to be able to progress.
Let's talk more about AI.
Okay.
I think it's one of the biggest platform shifts that we've seen, and one of the biggest trends that we've seen in our industry. I'm always so impressed with how many AI companies are built on Merge. Maybe talk about how you all built Merge, and then how that's helped to power the ecosystem.
We built Merge to really be the infrastructure for all B2B companies. So every single time a B2B company is built or already exists and you need integrations, you should just be using Merge. There's no reason why every company should be writing the same code base over and over and over again. And that's no different with AI companies. A lot of these AI companies are for B2B use cases, and I'm not gonna lie, when we first saw all these companies signing up, we were like, what's going on? Why are all these companies getting built? A lot of them didn't have full landing pages yet either. But I think over a few months, we started really seeing a trend of a lot of really great ideas signing up for the platform, using ChatGPT and building things that we would also be interested in using ourselves. And we realized that there might be a really interesting journey for Merge to not only power, the bread and butter of B2B companies, but B2B SaaS companies, but also this new wave of AI powered B2B SaaS companies too. Yeah.
And how are those companies using Merge today? Walk us through some of the examples, if you can, some of the logos and what they're doing. Because I always think it's fascinating, because you all started building integrations for HR, but then, from the beginning, it was always, we're going to go into all these other verticals. And so you all do ERP, you do ticketing, you do a number of others. So if I'm an AI company and I'm thinking, okay, I need to pull all these other things into my product, that was the limitations in the early days of ChatGPT. Yeah. It couldn't interact with any of these other apps. And as we're now moving into enterprise, all of these companies need to integrate with your existing stack, companies that are out there, maybe some of the new companies that are being built. How have you all built that, powered it, and what are some of these examples?
Guru is a customer of ours, and Rick Nucci, my hero, also the CTO founder of Boomi. He's built a great company, and what they do is they provide an internal knowledge base for workers, and we're really excited to find out we launched this new category, file storage. So integrations like Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, and their team raised their hand. They were really interested in testing out our new category. And the use case was to be able to quickly pull information from docs and knowledge-based resources, so that if any workers had any, or employees had any questions, they would be able to ask Guru or search through Guru and be able to quickly find the answers. And of course, Gong, very popular sales ops tool. They've always had AI in their product.
And is it mostly companies that were existing companies, had customers, and they're saying, we see this movement, we want to move into it, we want to launch our generative AI product, and they were adopting Merge? Or were you also getting the upstart first company, we're building with OpenAI and GPT 3.5 or 4, and we're building our first iteration of the product, and we're going to Merge? Which has it been?
It's honestly both.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really both.
Yeah.
I'm just listing logos that I feel like people will probably know. But yeah, we've seen so many, every day we see dozens of seed stage companies with .ai. So they'll use every single category, because every single piece of data that you can import from your customers, vendors, can potentially be helpful in providing insights. Yeah. So that's been very interesting for us.
Are there any specific verticals? Because when we've seen it, there have been the horizontal companies that are going after, I would say, any task that's out there. And then now we've been seeing more verticalized. So whether that's the legal vertical or whether that's the financial vertical, we're seeing a lot of these more verticalized models that are now popping up in the AI sector. For you all, is it you want to get some of the vertical, or is it start with one and then expand to the others, or is it every company?
It's both. I'm not picky.
Okay.
I've definitely seen some sales ops companies that mostly integrate with CRM
Yep.
And file storage in order to pull that information.
So
but
a lot of sales ops, a lot of file storage.
Yeah.
That's what the AI companies are using. And
also ticketing for productivity. A lot of times people want to see what tickets have been completed for engineering.
So a lot less on HR or applicant tracking, whereas that's where you saw some of your earlier customers.
We've seen that too.
We've seen
everything.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. What are the one or two top use cases that you like to see? When you know that they come through the funnel, it's an AI company, it's like, yes, we are perfect for that.
Honestly, every use case that's like, we need to pull every category.
Yeah.
Because I think in those situations, those companies would not have been able to exist without merge.
Yeah.
And that's such an amazing feeling because previously, if you wanted to build that kind of company and merge didn't exist, there's just no way you would have been able to build hundreds of integrations in-house.
Yep.
But now with merge and combined with ChatGPT and all these other competitors, the world's your oyster. You can really build anything. So I think that's my favorite because there really is nothing else out there but merge.
So you're getting pulled into a lot of these customers. A lot of these startups are building on merge. Is your view that they're all going to be coming back down? Is this a fad? Is this a trend? As you mentioned, every company that's starting is a .ai or is a ChatGPT 4 XYZ. What's your view on where it goes? Are these going to be durable companies? Are they going to be long-standing?
Whenever a new great idea emerges, there's going to be 10 different competitors. It's the same thing now. But I think some of these ideas are just really objectively great.
Yeah.
Like, especially I've noticed in sales ops, there's so many different ideas that were not possible previously without AI. And we've also been very interested in using those tools as well. And sure, there might be 3 companies that are doing the same exact thing, but there's going to be a winner and there really is true value that's getting added. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit less like, oh, this company is an AI company, so they're going to get like 100x multiple. I think it's going to be more like AI is layered through everyone. But overall, I think net for the entire industry, everyone should be using AI.
So, one of the things that we've always loved is the picks and shovels businesses, that are really able to be durable and withstand, market trends and market timing and continue to persist over long periods of time. And it's been incredible to see merge be that for the AI industry and powering a lot of it. But you all also have launched your own AI products. Maybe talk about those and what the shift was to powering the industry to now having, the integration set up by AI, and just walk us through how you're now launching AI products.
We didn't want to do it just to do it. And I think we had seen a lot of companies that would just like launch something and then it clearly didn't work or clearly didn't do anything. And we wanted to make sure that if we were going to be investing these resources on an already very packed roadmap, that it was really going to be worth it. And Gil had this really great idea where we've always had requests for customers to be able to contribute to Merge's unified API. And we just weren't there yet. But if we could have AI help contribute to some of the mappings, it would speed up a lot of our development. And it could also be a great way to start the Merge community where our customers could feel like they really helped add to Merge's platform. And so we spent a month on Blueprint, which it allows, which as I mentioned, allows our customers or anyone to contribute to, integrations and the initial mappings to the Merge platform. And it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And I think a really great part of it was that it showed us what was possible. And there's a lot more that we can continue doing there internally.
What were the main things that they could now do with Blueprint?
Honestly, I think the main thing that it really helped us with not only externally, but also internally was showing our customers that we were moving really quickly and that we were continuing to innovate. And I think any company that is not always looking at new technologies, trying to move really quickly on the roadmap, is willing to adapt their roadmap to test things out, they're not going to win. Yeah. And it gave our customers a lot of confidence that we were going to keep innovating, we were going to keep moving really quickly, and that we were the horse to bet on.
How much will AI continue to persist in the product and, for your end customers that you all will power?
It's going to be very important. We've already embedded AI-powered search in our documentation, and it even generates code snippets for our customers. Sick. It's going to be really, really awesome. And we have a lot of other ideas too for issues detection, showing where something has gone wrong in an integration. But a lot of it's also going to be internal, and we're starting to really train our team to how to use it a lot more as well. We can't share all of it totally publicly, but there's a lot of good stuff coming.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
How have you all been able to, I would say, cut through the noise? One, for the products that you're finding, in the AI, but as well for how you all can stand out for the products that you're launching. Because, as you say, and we see it on TechCrunch, every week there's a new, company that's launching their AI product. How do you all stand out? How do you kind of cut through the noise with everything that's going on?
I think it's really important to have a product that's very difficult to build. And so that was the first thing that was very important. So layering.
And would you say that would be like the foundation for how you built Merge, or what you're doing with these, Blueprint and some of your, AI, native products?
I think it's the combination of both.
Okay.
I think it's great to think of like new ideas that are very cool and that you can, fundraise very quickly for, or that customers find a lot of value. But if you can do it very quickly, I think everyone else can.
Yeah.
And I think it's the combination of both the fact that merge is a huge pain in the ass to build, in addition to all the innovation that we're adding on top, that I think shows a lot of value, because it's really hard to build. It's really hard to build merge. And I think it's a testament to when we are successful, it was not easy.
When you're thinking about, companies that you all want to work with, companies that you want to have on the platform, how do you make sure that you can dedicate time to the ones that you think are going to be around for a long time? You've signed some very large contracts. Some will come in, self-serve. You'll start by selling to developers, and then over time, you'll help, grow them. How do you distinguish between the AI companies that you think will be around versus those that may not?
It's hard, right? Like, I think before, when we first got started, we were going to, we would do everything for every single customer. And that's why we did so well in the early days, but obviously it doesn't scale as you reach thousands, tens of thousands of customers. So I think, we don't have like the best answers for this still, and we're still figuring it out sometimes. So it depends on like how many customers they onboard. If you have a lot of customers, you're probably doing okay. If you have a really strong edge team, and if you're giving us really great feedback, that also is a helpful indicator to us too, in like a less like direct way, but it shows us like, hey, you guys might also be around because of the strength of your team. And then of course also like contract size. If you're really willing to pay because you're betting a lot that you are going to grow, you probably have some more leading information than we do. So it's those three factors that help us determine like how much we can invest in each customer.
And the companies that are not great in AI, is it because they just haven't built enough and they're just all reliant on other platforms, or is it just not the right use cases that they're building towards?
So I've actually heard less about AI companies not being great if they're built on top of other infrastructure. I've just heard some infrastructure products are not great because it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. And what's even harder is that now you have such a big audience because there's so many companies getting built right now. You don't have enough time to really battle test your product. So it's like you just emerged as a little baby, and then now you're like forced to, compete in the Olympics. And it's tough. It's So I think that's the issue. And I am always very grateful that at least with Merge, we had some time to get to that point. Yeah. Versus like now, a lot of these infrastructure companies, you're just getting hammered, and you might not have the people or the infrastructure to handle it.
How do you make sure that you all are prepared for that? These waves that have been happening, and I would say some huge spikes earlier in the year where companies were coming on. How do you make sure that you're prepared and you can support those?
So we hire the best engineers in the world, as Gil always likes to remind our team. And it's just really important to hire people who care, have the experience, and that we are always planning ahead. So Gil has always been really good at thinking as like a engineering leader. Like, what do we need to build for? If something's off, why is it off, and how do we permanently fix this? Versus just having little band-aids. And so it's really Gil, and like Gil thinking through what he would want as like an engineer, and he sees around the corners, which is really great.
It's been pretty crazy to see the market and what's been happening with AI. It happened extremely quickly. Was it something that you all were expecting?
I will say I wasn't super surprised by the velocity of companies getting built on it, because you've probably seen this too, but every single time there's a category that's clearly a good idea, there's going to be 10 companies with the same exact idea that pop up. And
you all had a pretty interesting insight to it, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to see the earlier companies when they were starting. For you all, when did that start? Was that end of last year, beginning of last year, earlier this year?
Yeah, it was end of last year. Pretty quickly, we started seeing some really small companies signing up, and then we started noticing copycats of those companies, and then we started noticing a lot of copycats of those companies. And I think copycats are not unique to now. Whenever there's a good idea, a lot of people think of the same idea at the same time, and then they all get fundraising, because fundraising is especially at the very early stage, is a lot easier now. Yeah. So that wasn't super surprising. It was concerning though, having a lot of companies that may not last signing up for the platform and contributing to ARR, but that was something that we would have to then adjust for as a business. But I think in the end, as a founder, there's always going to be competition, and that's the beauty of this era. There's so many amazing competitors out there that you see, and you can see them getting better and better because the other one is there. And so for us, when we started seeing all these AI companies, we were really racking our brains, what can we add to our company? Because we're seeing all these companies get built on merge. What are we missing? Because we don't have any ideas right now. And we had a few quarters where we're just like, yeah, that would be cool, but would that really move the needle? And is it really worth moving our roadmap out for a tangible thing that our customers, we know they want and we know can generate revenue and add value versus a thing that's a bet and may or may not pan out. And you really pushed us. You're like, you guys really need to start thinking a lot more about this. And I think that helps us a lot to really have like an outside voice, because it was just me and Gil like thinking through like, I guess it's worth it. Like, do we do this? But I will say, like, in the end, I have noticed quite a few companies just not add AI because they didn't feel like it was authentic to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's also important. Like, you should be pushing yourself because you don't want to be that loser company that never innovates, but you also can't do something just because everyone else is too, if it's not the right thing for your company.
Did you all ever have the like, oh no moment, AI is going to take over our whole company. It's going to be able to build integrations on your behalf. It's going to be able to power a lot of what, we power today. Did you and Gil ever go through any of those moments at the company?
So when you get later stage, you meet a lot of VCs, and a lot of VCs will just text you random shit. And some VCs are just like, what do you think? Like, I've heard from, I heard that like ChatGPT is going to just like destroy integrations. And then we would like test it out. Be like, this is not like that level where it can really replace merge.
And what about long term? Were you thinking through and maybe you got the text and you're like, maybe long term, but today it's not there.
We were thinking long term, like what do you do to avoid that? And I think in the end, like, especially every day when you're like seeing how not just like how hard it is to build the product initially, but the maintenance and the operations as like a company, we were just like, like human involvement is still pretty important here. Because like, a lot of these decisions that we're making are not objective. They're very, very subjective. And even the amount of existing inputs that we have sometimes do not help us. We just have to think for the future.
Was there anything that you decided to make sure that you could pivot into powering those companies? And from our perspective, the transformer model has been out for almost 10 years now, and the ability to generate whether it's code or text or images. But we really saw it when OpenAI, they had been quietly building for a number of years, and folks were looking for access to GPT-1, GPT-2, and it was really at that kind of GPT-2, GPT-3 where it became widespread and commercially available. And so we saw all of these companies asking us, hey, could you help us get access to GPT-2? And it was really at the beginning of last year we started to see a bunch of companies, and then we had the the opening up and the coming out party with ChatGPT where it was like everything. And so from our perspective, it was we saw the wave, we saw it coming, but then just like the onslaught of demand that happened post ChatGPT was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
How did you all make sure that you were there for it? Because I remember like at the end of last year when we were asking you all about it, you were like, yeah, all of these AI companies are coming to us.
Yeah.
Like, how did you make sure, with this like build up that Merge was ready to go?
We had to be very explicit. And I think that's important for you to do in marketing is like, if you are building for this, you better use us. And people can't read your mind, and sometimes they need you to bridge that gap. And so we did a lot more marketing that was like, hey, if you're an AI powered B2B company, you need integrations. You should just use us, make it a lot easier. The great news was, at least at that point, we had a reputation, we had existing customers, and there's a lot of word of mouth, but even still that's not enough. And if you're even earlier stage at that point, you have to be really, really, really loud.
And how much of it is marketing versus really actually powering, right? You see a lot of blog posts and you see a lot of folks that are out there saying, we do AI or we power AI. But how much of that is like the distinct decision you make at the company to have the right products, have the right support, and be the right product for those companies?
I mean, it's both. So I remember hearing from this founder of like a unicorn. He told me like a long time ago, he was like, one thing that's really important for your company is to create a discourse that your company has the best product. But the thing is, you also actually have to have the best product to back it up, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Sure, you can be like, this bowl is for AI. But if this bowl doesn't do anything for AI, then it doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything. And people are going to quickly see what's real or not.
How did you pull in existing customers to understand what they wanted, to really build for it? And what were you hearing from them early days when you were launching these products?
So the great news about some things are that your customers are already telling you. It's not really you having to like pull information from your customers. And I actually think that's more important. Like, if you're getting yelled at by your customers to build certain things, then you should probably do it. And that's what I love about B2B is that you never have an open question about whether or not something is going to be helpful because your customers are already telling you.
And how loud were those voices from your customers telling you they wanted these products?
Pretty loud. And so it ended up really impacting what categories we launched. So previously we had HRIS, ATS accounting, CRM, ticketing, marketing automation, and we sped up file storage for some customers, like Guru, Assembly, and a few others that were like, hey, we're building this AI product. We really need this category. And by the time we had a few dozen customers requesting this, specifically for AI-powered use cases, we were like, okay, we need to fucking move. Yeah. And so we built it really quickly, worked very closely with them, but they really came to us and told us. And then the next category that we're launching soon too was really from a lot of these customers as well.
And then are there other categories that are more amenable or more needed by a lot of these AI companies?
I think it's combined with what's hot and what's doing well right now. I think with the market downturn, it's hard for some categories to do super well right now. If there's not like a lot of hiring, it's like tough for more recruiting companies to pop up right now. So that category is just harder for like an AI company to be incentivized to go into there. But for like sales right now and like customer success and like, productivity and, knowledge work, like all those categories are like is still doing very well. And so there's just a lot more interest in categories that serve those use cases. So when you were seeing this AI wave and all these companies emerging, did you have any portfolio companies where you're like, they're fucked?
It's we definitely went through the exercise of looking at the portfolio, and I'd say it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I'd say you're looking for more of like, I was invested in a company and they do automated sales commissions. And it was like, well, that's probably not one where they're going to be completely taken over by AI. But they did a lot of things that they could incorporate into the product. And it was really, really interesting for them to see, hey, what was the journey and how did they get there? And now they have a really interesting product for what they can do. And then I also work with a company that does automated customer support. And it was really, really cool to see how they went from implementing the transformer model and these large language models into their product. And that was over 2 years ago. They had hired somebody from Genesis and somebody that had this unique background, and they could actually build that into their product. So I saw a lot of that coming early on. And they actually got selected by OpenAI to power all of their customer support.
Wow, that's very cool.
So
good for them.
But it was awesome. But in the very beginning, we definitely had our moment where it was like, one of the biggest, use cases was going to be around customer support. And you look at, I would say where it like collides in the areas and just how, I would say how much they're exposed to what these large language models can do. And the companies that were really able to incorporate that quickly, they were able to, launch that into their products. They've been a lot better off. And getting there quicker and being able to capitalize on a lot of the market demand has really helped versus sitting back and saying, we're not exactly sure where this is going to go. And we're going to kind of, exactly what you said, we're going to sit on the sidelines and see. They missed a lot of the demand that they could have had if they would have leaned into it.
How do you differentiate founders that are building things for AI because they're authentically interested in it versus ones who are only doing it so they can, quickly start a company?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear when you're talking with those founders. A lot of the best founders that we work with, they have very much felt the pain of the product that they end up building. And so I think about Daniel Yanis, who's a founder that I get to work with at Checker. Yeah. And he built the API for background checks because it didn't exist when he was looking for that product that was in the market. I think about Eric Ray from Podium when he was building this product where he wanted to connect the local tire shop, with their end customers. He built it for his dad in Canada. And so a lot of the best founders that we get to work with, and I think about Merge, it's the same thing. It's, you all struggled with these, with these integrations. A lot of the founders that are building AI native products, a lot of it's been their life work. And they're saying, we've been wanting to make these breakthroughs. We've been wanting to launch these products. Now the technology's there. The compute is there. They can actually go out and build these. Whereas you find some of the folks that are going to that because that's where the money is or that's where the market is gone. They're definitely not as passionate. They're not as thoughtful. They're not as opinionated about their end market. And it really shows when they talk about the vision, where they want to go, and really their passion for what they want to build. Thank you for doing this. As we're wrapping up and as we've had the conversation around all these things that are going on in the market, I'm curious for you, what are you excited about for the future of AI?
AI is not a single player game. There's going to be a lot of different companies that help contribute to the success of this new generation of companies that are getting started right now. And I'm just really excited to see how Merge can help contribute to the ecosystem. I love tech startups, and it is so cool to see all these new ideas that are being generated, especially the ones that wouldn't have been possible previously without integration. So I'm really excited to see what everyone ends up building.
Awesome. Really cool. Thank you.
The next episode of Spotlight on AI features Alexander Wang, the founder and CEO at Scale AI, and Dan Levine, a partner at Accel. You won't want to miss it.
AI is probably the most important technological advancement of our time.
Yeah.
I think we'll look back on this in a few decades and realize that AI was the greatest economic engine for sort of revitalizing growth of the developed world.